Hint number 6, the bucket theory. The bucket theory says that as we move through our day, we can only take so much stress and so much difficulty. Our bandwidth gets overwhelmed. In this world with politics, pandemics, recession, hurricanes, wildfires, murder hornets, our bandwidth has been overwhelmed. So as our buckets are being filled, the only thing that can happen with an overfilled bucket is that it will begin to overflow. And as your bucket begins to overflow, what then happens is it starts to overflow either on yourself or the people around you. So all of a sudden now, the character that you created in the first one, the codex, now moves out of character. And you start to say and do things that are outside of your character because your bucket is filled. So the way to empty your bucket is from your frontal lobe or from your abstract brain. Your abstract brain is this thing that's up here in the front. And this is probably one of the newest organs maybe on earth. And with the abstract brain, it allows us to do several things. It allows us to connect, it allows us to create, and it allows us to project. These are things that allow us to get into a state that's called flow. There's actually a lot of books out there that are written about flow. One is actually called Flow. Another great book is called The Rise of Superman. And these books talk about getting into the zone or the state where you feel like you are losing time or that things are just rolling along and that everything is in place. This concept of flow is when all of your brains, all this information comes through and all your brains are equally functioning at the same time. Not one or the other brains is louder than the others. This has to come from your frontal lobe to get into this state of flow. To get to the state of flow, to get to this place where you're going to release that bandwidth, that things that are overwhelmed, involves 3 things. One is our ability to be in a patterned behavior. To do things that are patterned takes a lot of our brain. It takes a lot of our focus. It takes a lot away from all of the other things. A good example is just to walk. If you look at a brain scan and watch what it takes for a brain to actually walk and keep balance, every part of your brain is involved in walking. So in that patterned behavior, for all your brain to be involved, all the other brains have to quiet down, and you can actually find a state of flow. So any activity that is patterned actually helps you get into this state of flow. This could be anything from kayaking or biking or to knitting or to making a puzzle or anything that's patterned helps you get into this state of flow and allow you to be de-stressified, if that's a word. The second way that we can actually get into this state of flow is to be creative. Because if you remember, the frontal lobe or the abstract brain needs to be creative. So for it to be creative, all the other parts of the brain need to be quiet. And so to create something in your life, a ritual or routine where you are creative, actually gets you into the state of flow. Whether or not this is making music or reading, imagine what it takes for the brain to decode words on a book through your eyes, into your brain, decode it, bring it out, and create syntax and have meaning in a sentence that you read. Reading is an incredibly creative way to create the state of flow. Dancing is a state of flow, both pattern and creative. Writing, gardening, where you're actually doing these things, where you're actually hands in the dirt, creating this state of flow. The last, maybe most important one, especially in these pandemic COVID world, is this concept of connection. We as human beings need both emotional and physical connection. And with the COVID distance that we've created, connection's becoming harder and harder. Like, what do you do when you come up? Do you shake their hands? Do you give them a hug? How do we actually connect? All the rules and all the routines that we've created are now in question. Connection is with anything that helps you feel like you feel lighter when you're done. Research holds up that actually pets are one of the best things to connect to because they carry no garbage into the relationship. They're just animals, whether they're a dog or a cat or a horse or any kind of animal. The connection there is clean. And through that connection, whether or not that's a walk or petting the animal or just hanging out with them, makes you feel less heavy in the state of flow. The next is a person who doesn't take from you, a person who's a giver, a person who when you walk away, you feel better and cleaner with, is to find those people and create routines. I, on my calendar, write these people's names on my calendar. On some are weekly connections and some are monthly connections. So I create rituals and routines to connect with these people. And these are people who actually make me a better human being. To create flow, we need to be patterned, creative, and or connected to get us into our abstract brain, find flow, and be healthier. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ty Iden. I'm a business systems analyst at New Belgium Brewing Company, and also a photographer. I'm here today to just talk to you a little bit about what I do to empty my bucket and sort of rejuvenate myself and try to just give energy back to my soul. And oftentimes I just feel like, as the week goes on and or the day goes on, there's little stressors in my world, right, with day to day, that those things can build up in my bucket. And so if I can empty those out, it helps to rejuvenate myself. So a lot of times I'll do things with my family, I'll do things with my daughter, going out for a mountain bike ride or getting in my kayak are all really good ways that I like to empty out my bucket. I think the big one for me is, getting on my mountain bike, getting in the kayak, and sort of getting lost in the moment of just being on the trail, cruising down some fun downhill, or being in my kayak and solving a different type of problem with running a harder section, and just getting lost in being out there, outside, breathing fresh air and getting lost in the moment are all the things that I love to do.
Hello, my name's Jason. I'm a musician and a performer, and I would just like to say a couple quick things about my experience with bucket theory and the practice of emptying it. I've noticed that when my bucket's full, I'm a little more on edge. I have higher anxiety, and something just kind of feels a little off, not quite like myself. Things that I've found that have helped me reduce all of that are walking, like 20, 30, 40 minutes, reading a book before bed, like an actual paper book, and so I'm not looking at a screen. I also try to have a daily meditation practice. I think the biggest key for me is I start to notice the positive effects of having these practices if I'm consistent. And I think that's probably the biggest factor, is to be consistent with these practices. I don't think walking one night might not change your life overnight, but the consistent practice of it and the effects add up over time. And I start to notice after I've been keeping up with these practices that I am less stressed out. My anxiety level is lower, and I respond more than react, to situations more positively. And I notice also that when I don't walk for a couple days or so, that I wake up at night and I have a difficult time falling back asleep. And I notice that doesn't happen as often when I keep these practices up. So that is my experience. I hope you're able to find practices that you're able to have in your life and help you in any way. And thanks for watching. Bye.
Thank you for watching the video. My greatest hope is that by watching this, you either change your mindset or your intention or your practice. In this chaotic world, one of the things that brings back hope and help is a concept of bringing back control. And control comes back in little pieces. So through practice and rituals, you can regain control and regain energy. When we are fatigued and we are exhausted, one of the things we forget is where we do have control and where we do have power. Control and power comes through how we express the energy we have in our life. It also comes through how we change the rituals and the routines that we're practicing. Through watching this video, I hope you found a way to change your mindset and your outcomes and found a better and healing place to find energy. If you have any more questions, you're welcome to go to kairosSEI.com, where you can find more resources and more information on our website. Thank you.